Hello and welcome to the Europe Conversation. I'm Stefan Grobe. In the European Commission, she's in charge of promoting equality and inclusion and upholding minorities' rights, women's rights, LGBTQ rights, and she's working on a new anti-racism strategy. She's also responsible for crisis management and civil preparedness and strengthening international cooperation and humanitarian diplomacy. Now, if that is not a crucial portfolio, I don't know what is. So I'm excited to be joined by EU Commissioner Hadja Labib. Welcome to the program. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you for having me, Stefan.
So let me start by asking you about the situation in the Middle East. You have expressed hope that work on a two-state solution can begin soon, and it shouldn't be a mere slogan. Now, today, are you more hopeful or less hopeful about this?
It's clear that the ceasefire has opened a window of hope. We all saw the hostages back in Israel, embracing their beloved one. But we also saw, as well, millions of Palestinians going back and in a sea of rubble, without home, without nothing, by the way. And so the urgency is now to alleviate the suffering, to recover, and to provide humanitarian aid. And that's exactly what we are doing. This is the second phase of the humanitarian agreement. The Israeli authorities agreed to let 600 trucks per day to enter into Gaza, but we are not there yet. And so we asked the Israeli authorities to keep their promises. The winter is coming. The situation is dramatic with population which is starving, children and women to the breach of the famine. There is a famine, and we want to avoid this famine to spread.
What can you do as European Union, as European Commission, as EU to accelerate that process?
To put the pressure. And you know that we proposed as a Commission to lift partially the association agreement. This is a tool that we have. It's a leverage. And that's why we decided the previous Foreign Affairs Council to let this tool on the table to say, look, the Israelis the government is our first partner. We are their first trade partners, and we are the first global humanitarian donor of the Palestinian authorities. So with this balanced approach, we need also to be sure that all rules, all principles are respected. And you certainly heard about the Article 2 of the Association Agreement, who ask our partner to respect human rights.
Mm-hmm. Now, you have been very critical towards Israel already when you were Belgian foreign minister.
I'm not critical. I'm balanced and just.
Okay, but you advocated a stronger European stance. On the other side, Benjamin Netanyahu has said on this program that Europe has become irrelevant and that some European countries' positions amounts to supporting Hamas. How do we go from here? How can we improve relations with Israel?
You know, I don't like to speak about improving our relation with Israel. It's about improving the humanitarian law, the international humanitarian law, and to remind that there are rules to be respected, conventions, Geneva Convention, that asks that every state that is occupying a territory to be sure that the population received basic help, aid. And we are there to provide this aid. We have tons of goods waiting at the border, at the Rafah crossing. And I repeat that part of the agreement is also the delivering of humanitarian aid. We want to see waves of trucks entering into Gaza. So we are in a sea of destruction. 90% of the buildings are completely destroyed. It gives you a glimpse of what is at stake.
Let me go back to Netanyahu's remark that Europe is irrelevant. Did he have a point here? Where do you see Europe's footprint in the diplomacy, the ongoing diplomacy?
We have been involved in the region as an honest broker for decades. For Israel, we are the first economic partners. For Palestinians, we are the first global donor, humanitarian donor, but also we are supporting the improvement, the reform of the governance of the Palestinian authorities. And it is in the interest of the Palestinians, but also in the interest of the Israelis to have a strong, robust governance, a Palestinian authority who is recognized, who is democratic, and we are helping them to reform. And we are ready to play our role, be it by UBAM, the EU border mission of assistance, by also training with the policemen, with UCOPS. We have a lot of programs, but we need good faith from both sides, and we are talking with all parties. And another thing is that, you know, within our European Union, we have a diversity of opinions, of histories as well.
That is a very friendly description.
That is, yes, it's a friendly
situation.
But also it shows that, you know, from us emerge a compromise, which is also the right balance between those who feel close to the Israeli government and the others.
On this point, and you were just saying that Europe speaks to everybody. I think eventually it boils down to the question, will Hamas disarm and move the ceasefire agreement forward? Do you see this happening? I mean, the whole thing looks pretty fragile right now. But will they do that? And if they don't want to do that, can Europe put the pressure on Hamas?
Hamas is not an interlocutor for us. It's a terrorist group. The plan is clear. We need to see Hamas disarmed and not being part of the two-state solution. We don't want the extremists on board, from both sides, I have to say. And it was also clear when we organized, I was then Minister of Foreign Affairs, the day after conference with the Arab countries, with the Saudi Arabia, and it was also on the table when France, with the EU, organized the conference that leads to the recognition of the Palestinian states from many member states within the EU. And for us, it's clear, Hamas is not part of the future.
And how do you bring them to put the arms down? Because
with our commitment, with our help, with our diplomatic pressure, and also our dialogue, our constant dialogue with the Arab countries.
Yeah. One more question concerning the reconstruction of Gaza. You've said how the situation is, and this is typically a situation where Europe is very strong, helping with money, with expertise, humanitarian aid, etc. Now, some observers suggest that Europe may lose this spot because the Gulf states are more and more active diplomatically, financially, economically. Do you see this potentially happening, that Europe is further pushed to the sidelines here to the benefit of the Gulf states?
I don't think so. I'm rather convinced to the contrary. We are sitting at the table. We have our place as honest brokers, speaking with all parties, with the Gulf countries, but also with the Americans, with the Israelis. And we have this expertise. We are supporting. We are the first humanitarian donor, but also in cooperation in development, we are really involved, and we are supporting also the Palestinian Authority to reform, to become democratic countries, to organize in the near future, we hope, also universal elections and so on, and to regain also the trust of their own citizens.
Let me pivot now to the war in Ukraine. if I may. I said at the beginning you're also in charge of civil preparedness. In a different sense, is the European public prepared to support Ukraine as long as it takes?
This is our motto. You know, when I was Minister of Foreign Affairs, I remember we were always repeating that we will support Ukraine as long as it takes. And we are doing so, and we will continue to do so. I've traveled a lot, many times, in Ukraine. And for instance, they are also leading by example when it comes to preparedness. And, you know, through our ECHO system, DG ECHO, which is under my remit, this is the largest operation ever led by our services, transporting more than 150,000 items, mainly generators, to help Ukraine, a country which is targeted in its civilian infrastructures in a blatant violation of international humanitarian law again.
Can you talk to very concrete aspects of EU humanitarian aid? And is the situation possible, conceivable, that Europe would take in more refugees if the situation on the ground requires it?
We already welcomed millions of refugees with a specific status, allowing them to work and to be really fully integrated in our societies. And it is a success. Now, when it comes to our concrete support, you know, when I was traveling there the last winter, I remember visiting schools, building in a shelter. You know, it's the only way to ensure education for Ukrainian children, but also protection of the elderly and the people with disabilities. As you mentioned, I'm also responsible for equality and to ensure that we are not leaving no one behind, and especially the most fragile in Ukraine.
The last EU summit just signed off on the 19th sanctions package against Russia and continue to stand with Ukraine. At the same time, the question of frozen assets, the loan for Ukraine, has been kicked down the road into the next month. What message does this send to Ukraine and to Ukrainians? And Belgium played an active role here in this, blocking the loan for now.
We are not blocking the loans. And for 2 years now, we are also giving to Ukrainians the profits, the interest of these loans that are blocked, that are frozen. But these loans, you know, need to be, it's the first in our history. We don't have an example to follow, and it needs to be secured in a legal point of view. That's the only thing, that's the only point. And the message that we are conveying to the Ukrainians is that we are by your side, always. We will help you to defend your borders, because your borders is our borders, and we don't want to see further the Russians grabbing territories, Ukrainian territories. We are well aware, and we are constantly repeating that their security is our security. So we are with them. We are going to also reinforce our own security, and but we just need to time. I think it's a question of time.
On that point, we've seen Russian hybrid attacks on Europe as well, cyber attacks, drone incursions, and other operations. Does Europe take this hybrid war seriously enough?
Very seriously. And that's why a couple of months ago I presented the preparedness strategy, which is based on all hazards, all kinds of threats, because today's threats are not yesterday's threats. Yesterday it was mainly wildfires, floods, natural disaster. But today we see drones violating our airspace. It happened even here in Belgium in Denmark, in Poland, in Estonia, and we saw also the hybrid threats, misinformation, disinformation campaign during the Moldovan elections, with 14 million attempts to disturb and a cyber attack to influence the result of the election. Fortunately, it was unsuccessful, but it means that we are facing a multiplication of threats.
So, in short, is Europe ready for war?
We are preparing. We are prepared every day for everything.
Okay. And let me go back to the Belgian position on the frozen assets.
I want to explain. I know that you are skeptical. I saw your face. I just want to explain you. War is not, a Shah or a soldier knocking at your door saying, oh, look, I'm going to invade you. No, it is not the reality. Today's reality is a virus, a chemical attack, a nuclear incident that is maybe provoked by a power outages. All these things are very subtle. So we need to have a good understanding of today's threat.
Now, on Belgium and the frozen assets, I want to come back to this. What message does the Belgian position send to the Ukrainians right now?
The fact is that Euroclear is based in Belgium. It's an international platform. And the message is clear. We are with the Ukrainians and we will support them in their efforts of war. But we need time. We need to secure the legal aspect to be sure that Belgium is not going to be brought in front of a court of justice later on. That's it.
So the Belgian Prime Minister has repeatedly said he fears a retribution from Russia, legal problems. How serious is that, especially in a context of war? And are the others immune to that argument? Why is that? Why is there still no agreement on this? Why is this so difficult to sort of spread the risk?
Because it is a first in our history that we are going to take the assets that are blocked following an invasion, a war, an unfair one. And so it is, we don't have examples to follow, and it needs to be secured legally. That's it.
I want to ask you one last question. I want to bring up a very particular threat to our societies, and I know that you are very concerned about that, and that is regression, intolerance, and the demonization of dissenters. Racism, anti-Semitism, and sexism are on the rise. You are in charge of equality and inclusion. How do you promote this these days?
With good sense. I like figures, and obviously equality is also in the interest of our economies, of our competitiveness. We need to have all the skills, the potential skills on board. If we decide that half of the humanity, women for instance, cannot have a complete and full career to deploy all their talents that they are refrained with kids with culture impediment, and also that we don't accept the LGBTIQ plus people and so on. This is an attempt also to our competitiveness. This is refraining ourselves. And violence has a cost. It costs 290 billion a year for the entire European Union. We all pay the price of this violence. Exclusion has also a price. This is 390 billion a year. So if we want to spare money in this period of financial crisis, we need also to fight against exclusion, discrimination, and to have all the skills on board.
All right. EU Commissioner Hajj Al Habib. Fascinating conversation. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you.